In this episode, we explore how complex workplace situations are handled through the lens of human resources, ethics, and organizational responsibility. From toxic leadership and workplace relationships to employee rights and corporate culture, these scenarios reveal the real challenges that organizations face behind the scenes. Join us as we break down moments in film and real-life situations and hear from an HR expert on how policies, ethics, and leadership decisions shape modern workplace. I am Isabella Pepe, and I am thrilled to welcome our guest for today, Dean Chico. Hello, Dean.
Hello, how are you?
Hello, I'm good, sir. How about you? How are you?
I'm fine, and it's my pleasure to be here in this program.
Oh, it is our honor, sir. Okay, so how long have you actually been in the HR industry?
Well, actually, ever since I started working, my first job entails I was assigned in the Department of Human Resource Management. But as time went by, even though I am not anymore in the Human Resource Department, I realized that I need to be a human resource manager. As long as I handle people, as long as I'm a leader, there is a need for me to practice human resource management.
Wow, that's very great to hear, and I'm sure we'll learn a lot from you today. Okay, so let's dive into it now. So for the first discussion, let's talk about The Devil Wears Prada. Of course, we all know Miranda Priestly.
If I do something wrong, she is vicious.
So quit.
What?
Quit. I can get another girl to take your job in 5 minutes. One who really wants it.
No, I don't want to quit. That's not fair. But I'm just saying that I would just like a little credit for the fact that I'm killing myself trying.
Ugh, Andy, be serious. You are not trying. You are whining. What is it that you want me to say to you, huh? Do you want me to say, poor you? Miranda's picking on you. Poor you, poor Andy. Wake up, 6. She's just doing her job.
Okay, so that was a very heavy scene, and that was Andy getting all that pressure from Miranda Priestly. So Miranda Priestly, as considered as a toxic high performer, how does HR handle a person who brings in massive revenue but creates a massive liability in turnover and potential lawsuits?
That is quite a challenge in the field of HR because if, for example, in the case of Miranda, she is able to turn in revenues, however, her attitude and the way she dealt with people is something that makes the workplace very toxic, that will be very challenging.
So it's less inspiring because they're getting more pressure.
Yes, it's less inspiring, but I would say that's the style of Miranda. Mm-hmm. Maybe we cannot compare the style of Miranda with another manager because they have their own ways on how to motivate people. Maybe in the case of Miranda Priestly, her motivation is quite negative to make things done, to ensure that you achieve what you are supposed to achieve and deliver the results that she wants. And all of that are part of the requirements for the company to achieve its goals. In the long run, if you will be able to understand the style, maybe that's one thing that will help you survive in a toxic workplace.
Okay, so that's actually pretty similar to how Nigel reinforced or gave his input in this situation. He told Andy to suck it up for now. But this HRC enablers like Nigel as part of the problem, or is it that they're just also victims of the same systemic toxicity?
Nigel is one employee who understands the boss, if I may say, because he knows the reason why Miranda is like that, and that's part of her personality, and that's part of her style as a leader or as a manager.
So he's trusting the long-term process of that. Okay, I'll keep that in mind this next time I watch Devil Wears Prada.
Ininspeksyon ng Labor Department ng isang Chinese-style food chain sa Davao City na kamakailan nag-viral dahil sa sapilitan umanong paglalako ng crew nito. Yan ang ulat ni Jay Lagang ng PTV Davao.
Nag-viral sa social media noong Nobyembre ang video kung saan makikita ang service crew na si Shelamy Ungkay na naglalakad sa isang residential area sa Davao City upang mabenta ang produkto galing sa pinagtatrabahuan niyang fast food chain sa mall sa Ecoland.
Okay, so that was actually an issue that was reported widely, and it was a big public discussion because it was a service crew member that was allegedly going door to door to meet sales, but it's not part of their job description, essentially. So if the employees are injured while doing a task that is off-site and not in their job description, who actually bears the liability in this? Is it the supervisor, the management, or is it the company?
It's the employer, the company itself. Not, of course, the company is represented by the manager or the supervisor. But if there is something that happened to the staff in the performance of their job, it is not only a responsibility, but a moral responsibility of the employer to take care of its people.
Because they have to oversee everything.
Yes, and to make sure that you provide them a safe workplace.
Yes, I agree. So, how about how does HR ensure that in terms of voluntary extra work, it isn't actually coerced, especially for rank and file? How does HR make sure of that?
First and foremost, there has to be a policy regarding the safety, workplace safety, to ensure that the workplace environment is safe for its employees. So maybe we have to look at the different aspects or nature of the job, because we cannot but help that there are some jobs that are exposed to hazards. However, even though they are exposed to certain hazards, it is the responsibility of the employer to ensure that there are already steps taken to make sure that they are safe, although they are performing jobs that are exposed to certain hazards.
Mary, I'm so sorry.
The problem with secrets is, even when you think you're in control,
Ass.
you're not.
What are you doing here?
Well, you'd know if you bothered to return any one of my phone calls. Hi, I'm Addison Shepard.
Shepard?
And you must be the woman who's been screwing my husband.
Okay, that one was from the Grey's Anatomy. Okay, so in there, for context, Derek begins a relationship with Meredith without disclosing that he's technically still married to another employee, which is Addison. So from an ethics and compliance standpoint, what are the repercussions for a high-level executive withholding personal conflicts of interest?
In that particular situation, the relationship, it's quite difficult to handle if you're in the field of HR. Because there are times wherein employees or even the people involved will not really admit it, or if ever they are caught, they will find a way on how to get out of it. However, there has to be certain policies and procedures in place that will eventually, I would say, test their limits.
After many GPs stopped operating due to a nationwide transport strike launched by the Transport Group Manibela. As only Manibela GP served the Paco route, commuters had to take tricycles or other forms of transport. Some commuters were also forced to walk along the side of Nagtahan Bridge. According to Manibela, around 20,000 GP drivers in NCR did not operate as part of the strike.
So in that scenario, do employees have to use leave credits? And how does no work, no pay apply there?
The no work, no pay, I think it's, in the video, it's more of the jeepney strike. Okay? So usually, if that is the situation, definitely because they did not work, they don't have any earnings. But if you are already working in a corporation and you're a regular employee, leaves are part of your benefits. So if you file a leave that is within the territory, within the confines of the policies and procedures of the company, then you cannot withhold, or you cannot say it's not approved if you're the supervisor or manager, because that is part of the benefit of the employee. Now, the no work, no pay policy applies if, for example, you don't have any more leave credits, or maybe you are under probation and you are not yet entitled to certain benefits, or maybe you are hired on a contractual basis. So usually that is the case, that when we have a policy that is no work, no pay.
Okay, so how about with the perspective of a commuter during a transport strike? Should transport strikes be built into the formal HR contingency policies, similar to typhoons or natural disasters?
You know, policies are meant to put order in the organization. But what is important is, if you're a manager, if you're in human resource management, it is important that you identify that certain times you have to put a heart in your policy. Let's say, for example, in that particular case, there was a jeepney strike, and a lot of employees were commuting and they found it very difficult to report to work on time. Maybe you may relax the time in of your employees at that particular day because it's not a normal situation. So that is what I'm trying to point out. If you're in human resources, you have to have the guts, you need to have a feeling. When do you strictly enforce the policy, and when do you bend the policy? All managers are human resource managers. You need sometimes to put a heart on certain policies because it's a moral responsibility.
Patrick!
What is it?
Where are you going?
I've got to return some videotapes.
Do you remember where you were the night of Paul's disappearance, which was on the 20th of December?
God, I guess I was probably returning videotapes.
Where are you going?
Just leaving.
But where?
I have to return some videotapes.
Okay, so in that film, he often says that he has to return some videotape as an excuse to leave. So how would modern automated attendance tracking or key card data flag a VP who is physically present but professionally absent?
I think technology has changed the work landscape, the landscape of the industry right now, especially in the field of human resource management. Sometimes your physical presence might not be required, or it's not necessary because of technology. Maybe when I was starting my career in human resource management, you have to be there. You have to be physically present because there is no technology that will enable it. But right now, with the technology that we have and the system that we have right now, it really has changed the landscape in such a way that physical presence might not be needed anymore.
Yeah, so technology introduced us to the hybrid situation in the workplace. So is this considered though as a theft of time? And then at what point does a flexible executive schedule that a hybrid situation offers become a fireable offense for breach of contract?
Yeah. One thing that you have to remember is that if the work may not be, or the physical presence may not in the office may not be required, but still you are able to determine whether the employee has done something is very important, because there are times wherein the results will speak for itself. But what is important, you set a deadline that at this particular time, you're able to deliver what is expected of you.
All right, Dean Chito, that was such a informative talk, and honestly, it gave me, and I'm sure it gave also the viewers, a different perspective on how to view these situations, even in film and in real life. It gave them a perspective that understands how the work-life balance actually works. So that wraps up our discussion on workplace dilemmas and the role of HR in navigating challenging situations within organizations. From leadership accountability to employee welfare, these conversations remind us of how important critical decision-making is in shaping healthy workplace cultures. If you want to catch more inspiring Bedan stories like this, make sure to follow and message us on our Facebook page, Tatak Bedista. Once again, I am Isabella Pepe here with Dean Chito, and see you in our next